Hello everyone and welcome to my second attempt at Naked Brutality Losing His Fun Randy Random. We're going on a random seat here. I'm going to do a quick look around, find a spot, put my colony down, and get started. We learned a lot from the last time we attempted this challenge, and I'm hoping that this time will be a little bit more successful. Maybe some long-term planning done early on will help us overall. Here I am doing some careful prep work to try to find the perfect colonist to start with. In reality, I don't actually know how important this is to really look for that perfect colonist. I think that it doesn't actually matter as much as I really think it did, but it took me way, way, way too long to find the perfect colonist. But after I settled on them, I ended up beginning the colony and getting ready to start on a wild new adventure. I settled on a colonist by the name of Vebrin. He had very balanced stats, fast learning, was tough, was jealous, but that's okay because he's the only colonist. And just like that, we're in the world with the task of finding a place that's suitable to start living and figure out how we're going to start providing for ourselves in this cruel, tough world where we have nothing. I start out by surveying the land and seeing exactly what we're working with here and where we are going to set up shop to try to start it out quick. I know that we need to get a base built as quickly as possible, and we need to get a table, and we need to get a bed. Those are our two priorities, because if we can eat at a table and sleep in a bed, that immediately gets rid of two of the major negative debuffs that we could possibly get, significantly reducing the chance of getting a mental breakdown. With a location picked, we need to start gathering wood as soon as possible so that we can start building and repairing the base. I also need to manually prioritize what Vebrin is doing to make sure that he's maximizing his time and getting all the tasks I need him to get done, and kind of ignore the ones that are less prevalent right now at the very start. The main priority is getting the base built so that we have a roof over our head, can get our bed down, can get our tables set up with a chair so that we can start eating, cooking, sleeping, all in a nice area. I also set up these stockpiles, a dumping stockpile and a nice stockpile for the items that we want to keep. I also set up a sleeping spot so that he initially has some place to go, though I really want to get a bed built very quickly, and since that only takes wood, we should get it very fast. I set up his recreation and his work schedule, trying to give a decent blend of recreation, meditation, and sleep to make sure that he can keep functioning at peak performance, something that you need to take into account to prevent mental breakdowns from happening. We get the base mostly built. He takes a little recreation break before going and slamming down all of the walls very quickly, putting the roof up, and we are already honestly set for our first night. Getting a bed built and a storage room are now the next priorities, and that means we'll be incredibly set here, like right away. So this is a significant improvement compared to our last save. Next up, Vebrin slams out the storage room, getting all of the base almost built entirely in the first day. I need to get a crafting spot built, I need to get a butcher spot built so that we can get a club and start hunting, but besides that, we have a really good foundation laid here in just the first day. Getting a club built is easy because we have wood, and we have a crafting skill that should be high enough to allow us to get one built, and then we can go start beating up small animals for our necessary nutrition. Our next step would be to build a campfire so that we can cook all of the meat that we're butchering so that we have a less likely chance to get food poisoning, and we also get mood buffs instead of mood debuffs for eating raw food. Getting this campfire down will also be the last step we need to take before building our bed and getting our table set up to really having our base complete and fully functional. We butcher up a rat and we set up to cook some simple meals so that we can turn the rat into something a little bit more nutritious. Unfortunately, we don't have enough rat meat and he already eats it, so we won't be able to make a meal this time, but in the future, we'll be able to. Setting up his storage room for storage. I looked at the rituals we can perform to try to figure out if I'm going to be able to summon a new colonist soon or having a chance to summon a new colonist. This is important because getting a second colonist would allow us to have a lot of versatility in the colony, something that we don't have right now with just one. Obviously, with just one colonist, you can't do a whole lot in a day, and it takes a lot of time to make the progress you want to make. But despite that shortcoming, we have made significant progress here. I'm now moving the table, setting up a torch, and building a stool so that the dining room slash barracks slash bedroom, all-purpose room, is going to be really useful and quite nice, allowing Vebrin to get as many buffs as possible and reduce the chance he gets debuffs. This is really important as he is close to a mental break right now, simply because of all the things that are going on. If we can mitigate that risk in the future, that is what all of our goals right now are trying to do. Because we're not really planning for the current, we're planning for the future. We are living through a tough time, but By doing so, we're going to be able to have a much brighter future. Getting a bed built is an important step because sleeping in a bed gives you major buffs compared to sleeping on the floor. Also, sleeping in a temperature-controlled room is important. There are so many factors to take into account that if we have one mental break here, I should be able to prevent Vebrin from ever having one again. Polishing up the edges around the base through the nighttime and waiting for Vebrin to wake up so we can start our next day of progress. Things are going really smooth. The next steps is going to be getting a farm built and getting some hunting done so that we have a little bit of food in storage and a little bit of food growing, so eventually we'll have hopefully a lot of food in storage. I see a fox eating a dead hare and realize this might be our chance to score a double whammy. Getting a fox as well as the free hare, it's sort of like a little meal deal, so to speak. The fox does fight back a little bit, but nothing Vebrin couldn't handle. He takes it out with ease and now has both prizes to take home and butcher. Ultimately, Vebrin was in no immediate danger and just had a few scratches, so honestly, we came out of it on top entirely. Dragging the fox back home to be butchered, a meteorite crashes. It's made of limestone. Pretty cool, but not really useful. I try to get the fire going in time so that we can cook the meat, but before we can even start, he has already eaten it raw and went to bed so that he can start getting bed rest in to get better. And he's self-tending himself, which is good, patching up those wounds so that they'll heal quicker. We do have that hare out there that we can always go grab for more meals. I'm moving around some stuff around the base to try to make it a little bit prettier to give him a couple of buffs. He tends all of his wounds and goes back to laying down. Bed rest is important as it will improve the heal time. I'm use this time to set up some farms so that once he's feeling better, he has some stuff that he can immediately go do. I look at the differences between rice and potato to see which one I want to prioritize growing. I decide that we're going to do a 50-50 mix of both. This proves a little bit difficulty, so I make a gap in between them so that it is easier to divide them because the grow zones kept trying to merge together. I take a little bit of extra time to name the zones, not that it's important, but I felt that it would be nice to do, trying to keep everything nice and organized around the space as I'm hoping that this save can turn into a long-term save and I can avoid the mistakes that we made in our previous save and keep this one going. I filled in the gap with some rice. I like doing more rice because you can get that yield quicker. Looking around the map for some hunting opportunities, I noticed that there's a grizzly bear right next to that hare we killed, which means that hare is going to get eaten by the grizzly bear. This also means I need to watch out for the grizzly bears, as a grizzly bear is what ultimately ended my last save. At least it definitely didn't help. This is when a solar eclipse happens. That means it's going to stay nighttime. This isn't particularly important though because we don't have a lot of crops. Then a wild woman wanders in. This is something I had never seen happen before. I didn't know these existed in the game, and it is a kind of interesting mechanic. I decided to look at them and see if they're tameable or if I should even worry about it. Their stats aren't 100% good, and I don't really think that it's worth my time, and it seems like it's kind of risky, and I just decided to ignore them. It's going to be okay, and I don't need them that bad. There's a squirrel right by the base, which looks like he is going to become our next meal. Hitting him with the club instantly kills him, and we're able to take him back and butcher him up. This is nice because it's a quick, easy, and simple meal. You just had to walk a little bit outside of the base and drag it back. He instantly eats the meat, however, which isn't the best because I really wanted to cook the meat. I want to do a little bit more work around the base, getting it polished up and getting the storage stuff out of the room and being able to use our crafting spot so I can see if we can get him some tribal wear. Vebrin is naked, and it would be really nice if we could get him some tribal wear so that he's happily clothed. Also, it'll make him warmer and give him a little bit of protection against foes. I decided to put our recreation inside our house because I think it would be nice, and it means when it's raining like this, he can stay inside, be nice and warm, be nice and cozy. This is when another meal walks up, a hare. I bash it in with the club, bash it some more, and then we can go take this, butcher it down, and be able to get ourselves another meal for later so that we can stay nourished for longer and have to worry less. I decided to get the campfire going so that we can cook this meal so that we can have a more beneficial meal. He eats it right away, which isn't exactly great. I would have rather him staved it, but this does mean that our food bar is going to get very full, allowing us to have a long working day of planting rice. All this hard work and planting are going to have significant payoffs later in the save when we're going to have a stable and reliable food source. At least that's what I'm hoping for. There's a few things that could stop that from happening, but in the foreseeable future, this should be a major benefit, and we're going to have a major food source. Things are remaining relatively uneventful. Vebrin is just doing his day-to-day tasks of planting and cleaning and walking around the base, trying to find what little food he has, and I realize we're going to need to get more food very quickly. Hunting is going to be something we have to do. The eclipse goes away, leaving us in the bright, bright sunshine, something we haven't seen in about a day. The eclipse didn't last all that long, but a lot longer than a normal eclipse or any eclipse I've ever experienced. Vebrin then, I set him to harvest some berries so that he'll go get some food that he can eat right away. I didn't know that you could just harvest. I did cut the plants. That's not what you're supposed to do, so don't follow after me. You should harvest them. This is something I figure out later. While Vebrin is doing some meditation, I look through all the menus to try to find where to build a ritual spot. Eventually, I find it and can set it up. This is going to be important in the future as I'm going to try to do some rituals to bring us some companions and bring us some happiness. I also give Vebrin a meditation spot so that he has a dedicated place to do it and doesn't get the debuff for not having a meditation spot. I don't know if this exactly gives you a debuff, but it is something nice to just know where he's going to do it every time and have it set. Vebrin immediately goes out and gets some berries, comes back home and eats them. Tiger is sleeping really close to our base, so I look through all of her stats again and decide it's not worth pursuing or doing anything. Vebrin does a little bit of work on repairing his base. Since all his crops are planted, this is okay. He goes into a corner where he's repairing all of the walls, and he catches the flu. This is horrible. This is probably one of the worst things that could happen, as there's only really two outcomes of getting the flu. You either cure the flu, or you die from the flu. And unfortunately, I don't know how this is going to turn out. This is Randy Random on the hardest difficulty. So the best thing we can do is just pray. Hoping for the best, I had Vebrin tend himself and then immediately go start getting bed rest so that we can hopefully beat the flu. I have my doubts, however. The flu is kind of hard to beat and we definitely don't have the medicine. A solar flare happens, but that's no concern to us. We have nothing electrical, nothing to worry about. Vebrin is also starving. This does not help the flu situation. We're going to have to go try to find some ways to get food that are not super intrusive and allow us to also get medicine, food, and bed rest all at the same time. There are so many things to have to worry about now. Some people wander through. They're not really any concern right now. I am hyper focused on trying to get the flu cured, and our immunity is only going up so slowly. This is not good. Vebrin can only survive this if the immunity gets to 100% before the flu does. And as of right now, the situation is not looking good. But I look on the bright side. We can go get medicine. We can stay in bed. We can stay working. We can just try to keep going day to day and see if we can't come out on top. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that Vebrin is going to be able to recover. But all we can do now is sit back and hope for the best. I'm doing a lot of micromanaging here to make sure he has food, make sure he's getting bed rest, make sure he's tended. I have to make sure that everything is absolutely perfect in hopes that we may be able to get immunity. A low psychic drone comes in. That's not good. That's going to hurt Vebrin's mood. That could put him into a breaking state, and breaking with the flu could honestly lead to his death very, very quickly. Fearing for the worst, we really have to prioritize what we're doing. We don't want to be wasting time. We need to be getting heal root, we need to be getting berries, and we need to be eating, healing, sleeping. That's all we can really do. I mean, to be honest, that's all we can do in this situation. I really don't have much control, and honestly, I was feeling helpless at this point, and that's honestly because I pretty much was. There's nothing you can really do in this situation unless you're much farther in the game. Vebrin's out there daydreaming, pretty interesting thing to do. Honestly, not the worst thing he could be doing in this situation, because honestly, it's better than having a mental breakdown. I decided to plant some strawberries, as they would be a berry that's close by. I'm still a little bit hopeful that he'll recover from this, so I decided to keep doing some things that are going to help us in the long term. Although, it's not looking good. The situation's actually looking quite bad, but I ignore it because there's nothing I can do. I can only keep playing and hope that the situation gets better. This is Randy Random testing us, and all I can do is hope that we pass the test and Vebrin can keep on living his life. The story really has been too easy so far, so this is Randy Random really upping the difficulty, and it's what I should have expected. But this is not something you can really account for, and it's not something that in these early stages you can even plan to beat. I decided to go kill a rat to get us some more meals, as we are really lacking in the food department, as a big struggle is waiting for crops to grow and trying to limit our outside time and maximize our bed rest time. He goes and lays down. The situation does not look any better, but all I can do is just keep on hoping. Just keep on living every life and hope we might get a sudden immunity, we might get something special. The psychic drone has ended, meaning Vebrin's mood is going to be better. Our crops are growing, which is good, because if we get recovered, we'll be able to harvest those and get some meals going. Unfortunately, the recovery is not happening as quickly as I would hope. There are a few outcomes that could happen here. We could get a sudden immunity. We could get lucky. We could get another colonist. There's so many things that I hope happen, but honestly, all we can do is just keep on living. I've said it so many times because that's all we really can do here. There's not a lot going on. Vebrin is just laying down in bed rest. I'm just worried he's going to die. And unfortunately, his mental state is deteriorated. He ends up having a tantrum. This is a horrible time to have a tantrum. Everything could fall apart just because of this one break. At the same time, a transport pod crashes carrying Table. Not a table, a guy. A pretty interesting name. This guy could be our key though, however. He could be the solution to healing Vebrin, though I doubt it. He could, however, provide us a way to keep going in Vebrin's passing, or maybe he can do something else. I don't know. I'm honestly out of options here, and I'm just hoping that this tantrum ends quick enough that we can go save Table, and maybe it will help us out. Ultimately, the tantrum ends really, really quickly. Vebrin goes back to bed, but I need him to wake up, and I need him to go rescue Table. Table didn't look that badly injured, but he did crash from a pod, so he's passed out. He doesn't have the abasia you get sometimes when you fall from the sky, so he's not completely passed out. We can actually take him home, and he should wake up and get up rather quickly. When that ancient danger happened, I honestly got so scared it was a raid. Fortunately, it wasn't. Vebrin can keep going on his journey to rescue Table, take him home, heal him up, maybe give him a little bit of food, though we don't have much, and maybe get him to wake up and actually be able to heal Vebrin. Although that might be a bit ambitious, but he may be able to keep our colony going. There's a lot of options here, and I'm just hoping that we can continue this story as this start is just so darn good. I've had such a great run until the flu that dying to the flu would honestly be a huge disappointment. Vebrin, however, is keeping getting damaged. His immunity is nowhere near where it needs to be, and with the flu at 100%, Vebrin unfortunately passes away, ending the save and ruining this chance of the colony ever being something more. Thank you for watching. If you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want to support me financially, you can do that through Patreon or through Fiverr. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.